Thank you, Jean. Good morning, and happy Thanksgiving. I'm considering this our Thanksgiving service since we're celebrating Thanksgiving this week. So I had something really funny happen to me. So typically when I do my talks, I don't really have a lot moving in me during the week, and so a lot of it is spirit-led on Sunday mornings. And this week, I actually planned to talk. I've never done that before. And I planned it out, I had lots of notes written, and I pushed print on the printer this morning, and I made my hot tea, and I walked out the door, and I forgot to go back to the printer. So I guess from that, I take Spirit is telling me, let me flow through you. Don't be too contrived. I have to grab my glasses over here. So the one thing I did have were some printed notes, because I was having a conversation with a friend this week, and this came up. And we were talking about, I got this out of the bookstore back there, so we have it. It's Paul Hasselbeck's Heart-Centered Metaphysics, Unity teaching book. And I couldn't find my copy, so I had copied a couple pages out of her book. Now that I have with me this morning. So sometimes you just have to go with it, right? So we're talking about gratitude today, but we're going to approach it in a slightly different way. We're going to talk about what he talks about in his book, the 4 levels of consciousness. So consciousness is an interesting word that gets thrown around a lot at Unity, I find, in Unity churches. And it's such a big word, and sometimes it just can numb you when you hear it over and over again. And so what does it really mean? And he talks about it being, just to simplify it, consciousness is a sense of awareness. It's the sum total of all ideas accumulated in and affecting a person's present being. I love that. And he says that really in order to experience spiritual growth, we have to be aware of our consciousness. What's happening? What is our thinking? And that these spiritual principles that we talk about here, they often start with they're just an intellectual idea. And as we move, I think spiritual growth is about taking it from that intellectual idea and moving it down into our heart until it's no longer an idea, it's just a way of being. And so that's what consciousness helps us be aware of where we are. And his 4 levels of consciousness, which I thought are so interesting, and as I think about my growth, they feel pretty true to me. So I'm not one who loves to take something just because somebody else says it's true. I usually have to sit with it and say, well, is that true for me? Because if it's true for me, then that's helpful. If it's not helpful. And what we're here to do, we're here to connect, we're here to meet as a community, and we're here to find something that helps us to move better through our daily life. And if it's not helpful, there's no point in it, in my opinion. And so I want you to keep in mind, whatever I say, I want you to take that into and say, well, is that true for me? And if it's not, by all means, leave it at the door. Right? So when I think of his 4 levels of consciousness, I don't think of them necessarily in terms of a hierarchy. I think of them more in terms of a circle. And that as we move through the levels, we move out into the circle and we expand our awareness. So his first level, thank goodness I have these notes, is victim consciousness. It's where we often start. So he talks about, when we all come here, it's like that mountain stream that starts at the top of the mountain, and it's so pure and clean. And as it meanders and makes its way to the ocean or wherever it's going, it kind of picks up sediment, it gets a little dirty, it gets a little tainted sometimes. And that's how we are. When we come into this world, we're very pure. Our thinking is very pure and clean, and as we meander through our life, around the twists and the turns and the bends, sometimes we pick up sediment, and we get a little clouded. And I love that analogy, because that feels so right. for me. And the idea is how can we clear all of that away so that we can be here and get back to that pure place that we were when we first came. And so he talks about often where we start is in this victim consciousness, after we've picked up our sediment and all that. And I like music, and sometimes I think in songs. And I do this with my kids. We all have so many songs between us. For those of you who don't know, I have 5 kids, ranging in age from 20 to 11. So we get a whole variety of songs going there. And somebody will say something, and it'll trigger a song, and pretty soon somebody's singing a song. And that's just how it goes in my house. So when I was thinking about these levels of consciousness, I was thinking, is there a theme song? Is there a theme song for this level? And for this one, victim consciousness, I thought of, why is everybody always picking on me? Right? You know that old song? I think that's the theme song for this. This is where you feel like you have no control, and life experiences are just happening to you. And it's a very disempowered place to be. And I think we get there from years of fear. It's very fear-oriented. And let's see. The thing that helped me, and I know when I came into Unity, I was definitely there. I didn't know that I could change. Honestly, I did not know that I could change. I thought I was how I was, and that was how I was always going to be. And that life was just giving me a raw hand. That's what I felt. And the one thing, the phrase that I heard that has helped me, it's my mantra, and sometimes, we dance between these levels. We're not always at one level. And whenever I fall back into my victim consciousness, I think, nothing and no one is against me. Nothing and no one is against me. And I'll have to repeat that to myself. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, that's right. And then that helps us move outward a little bit into the next level, which is victor consciousness. And that's when we've discovered, we come into Unity and we've discovered the power of our mind. And we know that we control our life and we can determine everything. And as he talks about this, it's very interesting because he says, even though this is the victor mentality, it still has some victim consciousness in it. Because in order to be the victor, you have to have, right, it's a winner and loser kind of thing. So the way I think of it is what you've done and what I've done, and I was there, is that it's like you are on this pendulum swing. And you go from having no power to swinging clear over here and thinking, I have all the power. Now, there is a little bit of an issue with this, when you get stuck in this stage, is that, first of all, life is a co-creation. It's a co-creation. And sometimes you can start to feel depressed if you're in victor consciousness and you're not getting where you want to be. Because there are times with my medical condition when I think, okay, in Unity we say our thoughts create our reality. Well, what if I can't completely cure my physical condition? What if the medical people can't do it, and what if I can't do it with the power of my mind? Does that make me a failure? Right? So it's really easy to get locked in that trap, and I think a lot of people in New Thought get stuck there. And there are people who are not helpful in saying that that's a reality to other people. That I don't want to be specific, but I've been keeping track, just something to keep it light. Stupidest things said to me, right, during this process. And this week, somebody stepped up and won the award. And I won't tell you, actually I am going to tell you what they said, because I think it's important to know. They said, if you die soon, it's essentially your fault because you didn't want to live enough. Oh my gosh. Right? Now, there's the issue with New Thought. Right? And you may think that, but good Lord, don't say that to somebody. That is not helpful. Right? And that can leave somebody saying, what if I just can't do this? So that's a stage that's really important to be aware of. But it's a good stage because it's moving you from disempowerment to empowerment, and that's a good thing. But it's a pendulum swing, so we're looking for a little more balance. Right? We're looking for a little more balance. So then we move into vessel consciousness. And this is where now we understand that there's something bigger than us. There's a power greater than us, and we are co-creating with it. And we see ourselves as a vessel, right? As a vessel that God's Spirit is moving through, that we are an expression of God. And it's like God is in me and through me. And there's a beautiful song that I love, and it's, let's see if I can think of it. No, maybe I can't. My mind details don't stick in my mind these days quite as well, so we'll just move on. Anyways, it's a great song, and I love to sing it. And it feels like when I'm singing it, it's this longing to have God express through me. And I know that this is the level that I inhabit most of the time now. And it's what allows me to have explicit trust in the fact that if I walk in on a Sunday morning and I have nothing in me, I say, okay, God, this is yours. Speak through me. Say what it is that they need to hear today. And I always know something's going to come out. It's that trusting that I had this thing happen the other day. So I moved into this house. I bought a house 3 years ago, and there's a sump pump in the crawl space to keep it dry. And right after I moved in, I received a postcard from the company saying, you need, maintenance, whatever. And I stuck it in a pile, and I haven't looked at it for 3 years. And suddenly, a couple weeks ago, something in me just said, pull out that postcard and call them. And so I did, because what I've learned is that when you get those nudgings, you follow them. And for me, the nudging, like if it's my mind thinking about it, I go back and forth. Should I, shouldn't I, right? There's lots of thinking. But when it's Spirit nudging me, it's like my brain's not even involved. It's just this deep knowing, do it. And I do it. And I called them, and I scheduled a maintenance, and they came, and the guy said to me, I'm so glad you called because your crawl space is filled with water, and the motor on your pump has died. It's like, wow, what timing. Was that an accident? I don't think so. I don't think so. And when you're at this level, what I've learned is, after going through treatments and everything, well, now I'm doing the same things, nothing feels the same to me. And I'm sort of sitting with, what do I do? What do I do next? Did you take me through all of those difficult things to, on the other side, be doing exactly the same thing? I find that hard to believe, but what I know, and I've thought, should I do this? Should I do this? And what I know is that I've had no nudgings. So this is my time to wait. This is that period. And I feel like I'm done with the waiting period, but the waiting period must not be done with me. So there must still be something here that I have to learn from. And I know that's true because I don't get the results of my test for 2.5 more weeks. So I'm going to learn something else. I don't know what that is, but what I know is that I wait. I wait until I have the nudging, and it will come. I don't know what it is, but when it comes, I'll follow it. And that's what I've learned being in this level of consciousness. I've learned through doing it each time and watching that it turned out, to trust it implicitly, that I am indeed a co-creator with God. And then there's one more level of consciousness. And I was speaking with Reverend Georgie Richardson, who retired from Unity of Salem. And she gave me permission to share this. And she said she's been a minister for almost 30 years. And she just now finds that she can spend a few moments in this fourth level of consciousness before she goes back to the vessel consciousness. And this is verity consciousness. And verity means truth. And the truth is that we are one. This is the level of ultimate oneness, where there is no separation between God and me. God is not working through me. I am God. I am walking as God. And I've been thinking about this a lot this week and feeling like, well, I thought I had it. But where do those nudgings come from? And what I realize is that when you're in that verity, truth, the nudgings are not some God outside of you or some God that's part of you. It's that part of my consciousness that is God. It's the Christ consciousness that Unity talks about. That's what's nudging me. It's my higher self, capital S, that's nudging me, that I'm learning to listen to. It's part of me because I am part of God. We are all part of God, and we are all one. You see, so when you're thinking of a circle, when you get out there, we're all the same. And when we reside in like the victimhood consciousness, for instance, it's very easy to think in terms of us and them. And I've even been thinking when we label ourselves as new thought, we're still creating an us and them. And so how, at this level, at the truth level, can we just let all of that go? Let all of the labels go and just think in terms of we. We are one. And what I found in terms of moving from level to level, as I looked back and thought, well, what moved me through that? It was direct practice of these principles, for sure. And I think the one being the most important is gratitude, which we celebrate at this time of year. And sometimes I think, why do we celebrate it just one time a year? It should be like an all-year kind of thing, But gratitude, being thankful, helps shift our thinking, it helps broaden our perspective, and it helps us to find the gifts in every situation. And I loved what Mom read today. I'm going to look at that again and see if I can. Yes, thank you. Ooh, these eye things are interesting, trying to figure out how to make this work. Okay, where was that? I have been blessed with many opportunities for growth, whether I currently judge them as pleasant or unpleasant. I love that. But no matter how we judge them, there are gifts there. And judgment, I think, by itself keeps us from finding those gifts. And that's one of the things, the other big principles that I've learned is letting judgment go. And it wants to creep up so easily, and being gentle with myself and then saying, oh, that's right, I'm not going to judge that. And that's for other people, but especially for myself. Because when I'm in judgment of myself, I don't grow. Because when you're in judgment, you shut down your awareness because you don't want to know. And when you shut down your awareness, you cannot grow. So we let go of judgment, we look for the gifts in every situation, and we practice gratitude. And I've been lucky to be blessed with so many fabulous mentors on this journey. And one of them, the word she always says is direct practice, because it's so easy to get caught in the intellectual part of it and to not really let it settle in. And the way we settle it in is always be practicing it. So I spend a lot of time during the day checking in, reflecting, being aware of some, well, how did that go? What, or listening to myself. And then thinking, okay, how can I let that go? How can I grow through that judgment or whatever that is? So what I'd like to do today is a little direct practice. because we talk about being grateful all the time. But what I'd like to do is, I have a sheet here, and I know there are pencils in the pews if you don't have them, and there's books you can use to write on. So get ready. We're going to write 5 things, just 5 things that you're grateful for. So a couple more minutes with that. Oh, keep that, Dad. You're going to need it. Not so fast. Okay, so 5 things that you were grateful for. Anybody want to share anything? You don't have to, but anybody want to share? Nellie?
Sure. Oh, I'll be 90 pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I have lived a long time. I've experienced a lot of things. And they're talking about something about 70 years ago. Well, that's a long time. To me, it's not.
Right. Very good. Thank you, Nellie. Yeah.
And also that I healed up from a broken back.
There you go. Very good.
When there, and I lived one time, and I still can get around anywhere I want to.
That's a beautiful thing to be grateful for. Yes.
And I've experienced a lot of cold falls.
Mm-hmm.
Really, not too long ago, I had this disease which I didn't know was fatal.
Right.
And I got over it faster than anybody else ever did.
I have no doubt about that. Thank you, Natalie. Anybody else want to share something? No? That's okay. So, okay.
I started writing things down.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, wait a minute. What do all of these grow out of? And so for number one, I put God, that I am so grateful for love from
Mm-hmm.
God.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything else kind of flows out of that.
Nice.
All
Nice.
of it,
Yeah, beautiful. Did I see somebody else say they wanted to? Yeah, go ahead, Linda.
That was mine. Love from God was number 1.
Now, I have a question for you.
I got friends, it's very important.
Okay.
I had angels around me. I have living angels. I have so many friends, a lot of friends.
Definitely something to be grateful for. Yes. So then let me ask you a question. As you were doing this, so 5 things you were grateful for. Was it difficult? Did you have a hard time with it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Me.
Okay. Did you find yourself thinking, like going to write something and think, oh no, I should be grateful for this? Was there any kind of judgment playing in for that for you? A little? Okay. Just something to notice about yourself. Okay, so now that you've had 5 things you were grateful for, let's list 10 more.
Oh,
Keep your pencil sharpened. We can do it. Everybody get one? And go. Okay, a couple minutes. Okay, so 10 more things. Was that a challenge for you? It was, okay, good. Good, we like to be challenged, right? Our growth is on the leading edge when we challenge ourselves. So here's my personal experience, what I've found with gratitude, is that be specific right? And sometimes just start making a list, because I know when my kids were little, and some of them still are, we would say before they went to bed, "What are you grateful for?" And the tendency becomes to say the same thing every time. And that's great. It's something to be grateful for, and it's not expanding you. It's not helping you to see circumstances differently. It kind of gets you in a rut. So yes, you're being grateful and you're stuck. So, and it's okay to list, if your 5 things, the first 5 things are something you're grateful for every time, great, and keep going. And keep listing. And what I've found about gratitude is that it is a perfect, instant way, if there is one, to shift yourself out of a bad mood. I remember several years ago, I was at one of my lowest points, and I was laying in bed and I felt paralyzed. I hated my life, I didn't like myself, and I just was stuck. And I was looking up, and at the time I was in a bedroom that was this real pale shade of yellow, and it reminded me of the sun. And I thought, I like yellow walls. And you know what? As soon as I could find anything to be grateful for, it tumbled me in, and then my mind said, okay, well, what else do I like? Oh, I'm in bed and it's really soft, and my blankets are really warm, and I love my pillow. And then it just moves from there, and I'm so grateful that my kids are in the house. And then it's this ball that gets rolling, and then pretty soon you can get out of bed. And then pretty soon the day looks better than it did 3 minutes ago. And it's just a wonderful way to shift yourself. Even if you're in the car and you can't write it down and you're just having a bad experience or somebody cut you off, what can you be grateful for? There's always, even in what looks like the most terrible circumstances, there is always something to be grateful for. And I can say I'm grateful for this cancer experience that I'm having, because it's helped me to realize that there's even in this, there is always something to be grateful for. And that gratitude will help us move through those levels of consciousness so we can get to the place where God is working through us, and then we know without a doubt we are God. Let's take this into meditation.